get you some.
We're recording again?
Yeah.
So all that stuff that wasn't recorded?
No, it's recorded.
Okay.
I just had to give
Are we recording? I have to say that. I don't think I said it at this podcast.
We are recording, right?
Is this thing on? Is this thing on?
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Perfect.
In a world full of prankster gangsters and soft-ass fools comes a film that will make all the bad hombres want to mequiaso their chonies and all the hyenas mas mojarse for puro cabrones. Low Riders from Mars. Coming to the bargain bin at a Northgate near you.
We sneak across the sands of the Arizona plains, dodging bullets from Minutemen in the middle of the night. We are the Vato Mutants, the streets for us to cruise on. Our cars are lined up ready for the General Revolutions. Low Riders from Mars, and we don't care. Low Riders from Mars, and we don't care. Low Riders from Mars, and we don't care. Well, we've seen your pinche movies, our vatos in the pinta. We've sipped your margaritas and tasted your fajitas. Don't you try to stop us, it's too late to resist. Don't try to call the blockers, there'll be no assistance. Low Riders from Mars, and we don't care. Low Riders from Mars, and we don't care. Low Riders from Mars, and we don't care. Well, we need no introductions, no green cards or goddamn lunch. Just vital reproduction. We're here for what we want. Don't you try to stop us, it's too late to resist. Don't try to call the blockers, there'll be no assistance. Low Riders from Mars, and we don't care. 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 I fucking told you we're never gonna fucking care. I just don't care. We don't care. I told you I don't care.
Okay, welcome to the Clika Podcast. We have a very special guest today of punk rock fame.
Yes, we do. And you may know him from pioneering bands such as The Adolescents, Agent Orange, Legal Weapon, Joyride, Manic Hispanic, 22 Jacks. Y'all know who I'm talking about. It's the one and only Steve Soto. Yeah.
How you guys
All
doing?
right.
That's a long list, huh?
How did you manage to be a part of all these bands?
Well, I started playing with Agent Orange. We started playing like right in high school. And so that one kind of, was just like guys from the neighborhood. And then Adolescents was right on top of that. And so that, that was with guys kind of the same city, but not like right that I grew up with, but I met Frank Agnew and Tony I'd met at a show, at an Agent Orange show. And it's like the minute we met, we like became like best friends, so we were on the phone all the time. And then so, because he lived like in Anaheim. It was bus rides to go see each other. We didn't have cars. We were 14 or 15. But then when we decided to start the Adolescents, we both got on restriction at the same time. So we wrote a lot of the songs that are on the Blue album on the telephone, like with me holding the phone next to an acoustic guitar and him like writing lyrics while we're talking on the phone and stuff. It was a pretty weird way to do it. So, from there, everything just kind of took off. Legal Weapon was, they were playing a show with the Adolescents and they said they needed a bass player, and so I said okay. It was one of those things, and I moved up to Hollywood for, I don't know, Frank and I moved up there for probably about 6 months, and at that point I guess I had just turned 18. So, living in North Hollywood, it was like, oh, yeah, I got to be in this band, and they have this little house we can live at so we can, get crazy. And we got too crazy, I think. We had to come home. So, but, so then after that, there was a period where I didn't play for a little while. And then Adolescents started up again, and ever since then, it's just been kind of going. I went from that to Joyride, Joyride to 22 Jacks. When I was in Joyride, we were on the same label as the Cadillac Trams. That's when I became good friends with Gabby, and we were in a warehouse working at the label that we were on, and we were listening to Freddie Fender music all the time. So we go, what if we played all these songs like Punk Rock Speed and started this? Because we used to say we should start a band that does this, or let's start a joke band that does this, and then we'd never do it. One of them was called the Hot Wings. One of them was because Mike, Gabby's real name was Mike, right. So it was the S&M party for like Steve and Mike party. But we never did those. And then we did Manic, and it probably wouldn't have happened. The drummer of Joyride had a show. Our drummer had a bleeding ulcer, had to go to the hospital the day before the show. And it was at Linda's Doll Hut, and Linda called me, and she's like, "You can't just pull out because Joyride always packed that place, And she's like, "I need to have a packed club tomorrow." So we go, all right, let's do that Manic Hispanic thing we were joking about. And we learned a bunch of songs that day. And first Gabby wasn't going to do it because he had to go to Magic Mountain with his girlfriend. And he goes, "She'll be pissed at me if I back out." And I'm all, "Well, dude, I'm going to do it. We'll just do it with someone else singing because I have to do something." And he's all, "You can't do this without me. This was our idea together." So he pissed off his girlfriend and went and played the show with us. So that's that one came together like that. It was just like friends. By that point we were all friends, and all our bands were on that label, Dr. Dream. So the Grabbers were on Dr. Dream and Manic and Joyride. So we just kind of and when we did our first record, a band canceled next door at the recording studio, and just so happened like four of us were sitting around at the label, and so they go, there's free studio time right there. Someone paid for it if you want it. So we just went, all right, ran over there and did the first record. Yeah,
so awesome.
I think that's one of the coolest pictures that you guys have. Is all those cars in front of the Doll Hut, and you guys are standing out there. I'm like, this is so cool.
I'm pretty sure that was the first show. It was either the first or second show we did, because we did a show at the Doll Hut, and then we did a week later we did another fill-in show for Joyride, and then somebody had videotaped it, like on the old-fashioned video thing, but it started making the rounds. Like people were passing that tape around, and then people were like, "Oh, this is funny. You guys should keep doing it," And so it just kind of. It turned into a thing pretty quick. But we used that. One of those Doll Hut things was like a poster for the first record, too, and stuff.
Is that also how Flock of Goo-Goos came to fruition as well?
By that point, I was working at the Doll Hut. Somehow Linda talked me into booking shows there. It started as a joke. Like, I'll take Tuesday night. I had to go, "Give me the worst night that you have." But I had so many friends in bands, I go, I can at least for 1 month get away,
Right.
And we made like a bet, like $50 or something, and I slammed it. I got like all these bands that, were weekend bands that play on a Tuesday. But then, she became a really good friend of mine, and we started working there, or I started working there. I think everybody in a lot of those bands worked there over the years because of Linda. But so on my 31st birthday, she goes, "What do you want to do for your 30? We'll have a party." And I go, "Well, I haven't ever played in a new wave band before, so let's do that, like just as a joke." And I never really listened to a lot of that stuff. Like I was still so into punk rock when all that stuff was coming out. But it was funny because Dan Root and Gabby, like they knew all the songs almost too well. And Greg and I kept going, "How do you guys know all this stuff?" Gabby's, "Oh, dude, my chick was totally into this."
That excuse, huh?
Yeah. But yeah, and so the Flock thing, that was just such a weird fun thing, because once we started doing it, as we went along, and I mean, gosh, Gabby was just so hilarious in that. We did a New Year's Eve show at Alex's, and he wore a wedding dress, and we opened up with Like a Virgin, and you know what I mean? It's like one year he wore the flash dance outfit and did the whole maniac running, and I mean, you know, it was just like. But, you know, and the worst show we ever had with Flock of Goo-Goos was Gabby's dad showed up. And he's all, dude, I can't act like a Fruit Loop in front of my dad. You know? It's like, and he was really subdued, which for the Flock, we all kept looking at him like, come on. No, if you're not being funny, we're just playing dumb new wave songs. So, yeah, that was...
Well, I'll tell you, at his memorial show at the Observatory, I mean, you guys came out and murdered that crowd. It was a sight to see. I'll tell you. I was like, holy shit! Steve Soto is singing "Purple Rain." It was amazing. I loved it. It was great.
And you know, it's funny. My dad was there that night. Oh, wow. But I told him before the show, I'm like, Pop, I'm gonna have to put makeup on, and don't come down and hit me upside the head.
I'm gonna dress up like Robert Smith.
Yeah.
And that was my parents over the years have come and seen us play all the different bands, and but that was definitely the one they'd never seen. I was kind of like, hey, you don't need to see the Flock of Goo-Goos. And but they got a kick out of it. And they came that night, obviously, because they love Gabby. And,
right.
You know, when my parents came to see Manic Hispanic play one time, and Gabby did the Tijuana belt buckle. Did you ever see him do that, where he pulls his balls over he turns around and he goes, hey, check this out. So he does it, and I look at him, and we were at House of Blues in Disneyland, and I go, dude, I'm like trying to mouth it, but my mom's up there. And then he just stops and he looks up and he goes, hey, Mrs. Soto. And he goes, like, did you know Steve's on drugs right now? And just like stuff like that. and yeah, totally made it worse. You know, my mom was like, you should have never said nothing to Gabby. But yeah.
Now you guys decided to continue under Mexican society. What made you guys go back to the name Manic Hispanic?
I think at first, I didn't really think we would ever even do this again. Like when we did that memorial show, and when I walked out of there, I'm like, that's done. You know, it's part of my life that's kind of done now.
Yeah.
You know? And then over the next, I don't know, over the year we'd get mail, you know, like emails and stuff from people going, you know, are you guys going to keep doing this? And we're, you know, nah, I don't think so. And then we talked about, I knew that they were doing that painting of Gabby for
the velvet painting.
Yeah. And so we're like, well, what if we do, you know, we call it Mexican Society, we do it something a little different. And the thing was, everyone, the rest of us, like when we were young, we all hung out together all the time. But as, you know, we got older, everyone's busy with their things. Like those guys, like Warren's a union crane operator, you know, and he's busy all the time doing stuff. And I tour. And so it's kind of like we don't see each other anymore, you know. So then Maurice was like, well, let's do a band. We'll call it Mexican Society, and we'll just say we're a Manic Hispanic tribute band. And we'll never cop to it being us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then someone else was like, but we could still say, like, featuring former members of, you know, and it was all kind of going to be silly. And then we did that a couple times. I think people were really confused. Like, there were some people that go, like, that's kind of weird, you know. Like,
a tribute band of a tribute band?
Yeah, you know, and you're like, it's a joke band, and you're not getting the new joke, you know, whatever. But so then at some point, you know, we just were talking about it, and it's like, you know, we just go, I mean, you know, we're Manic Hispanic. It's not the same as it was, but it's still like, it's fun. It's like a party, you know, and it's kind of like, I forget which one of the guys said it, but you know, it was kind of like, it's like when you got, like when your abuela makes like, you know, these amazing tamales and at Christmas every year, everyone's stoked, and you go there and hang out, and then she passes away, and it's not like, and so one of your tias steps up kind of, and you know what I mean? And it's not like, because it's not like you're going to stop eating tamales or stop celebrating Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to miss her, and it's not going to be the same, but it still can be fun and cool, and you're still with your family. You know?
Yeah, that's the magic of everything there.
Yeah.
The family in essence.
And you know, in the total selfish thing for us, it's like he's there with us. So, if, you know, I mean, like, not to rule out, like, you know, the feelings of, like, our fans and stuff, but I mean, I would do this just if it was no one came and it was just, you know, 6 of us up there doing it, because it feels like when we're playing these songs,
his essence is in the room. Yeah.
Definitely.
So, I mean, I know some people don't feel comfortable with it, or, you know what I mean? I've seen people, there's some posts, like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. And that's cool. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not, like, we're not trying to force people to come down and, if they can't, if they don't want, if they're not feeling it.
Yeah.
But, if you want to have fun and you want to feel it, like, we're here and we're going to do it. And we, when we were going around for a while going like, well, are we going to get anyone new, or is just, Ephraim going to sing, and then it kind of came up that one of our guitar techs, where he's worked for me for the Adolescents, he was in the Adolescents for a while, Gilbert, just kind of rolled into it. And, I'm like, hey, what if you sang a couple songs, and he did. And it was like, it's so cool. And he's like 27 or 28. So he's got all this energy, and it's so cool to see him pumped up, And then years ago, when Manic was, we were going to do a tour, and Maurice couldn't go out, our guitar player, so we were looking for like a fill-in guitar player. And there was a band called Los Villains that used to play the Doll Hut all the time. Mm-hmm. And I knew Louie, the singer, from that. And I'm all like, hey, dude, me and Gabby kind of rolled up on him like, why don't you come out and play guitar with us, And he was like, he made a bunch of excuses, which he later told me, he was kind of in the midst of his pre-recovery life. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And he's like, I didn't want to go on the road and like, screw up everything for you guys. So flash forward a few years, when Louie was, getting better and getting into recovery, Gabby was one of the main guys that, was there, like, helping him out. So they kind of, he's family in a couple different ways like that, like I've known him. I booked like some of his first shows at the Doll Hut and stuff. So he came in and he's just, it's kind of, it's like different. It's definitely different, but he's very funny and it's very cool. And like, we're having fun. We've made 2 EPs in the last couple months, and we've been having a blast, like laughing, like probably haven't laughed in a long time, so that's cool. And, yeah. So for us, it's kind of like part of the process, I guess. And we feel good, like doing it. So
now your latest music, Back in Brown.
Uh-huh.
I was hearing it on the way over here.
This is the title.
It was awesome. What inspired you guys to want to pick that up again and actually start recording again?
Well, some of the songs, when Gabby was sick, I would go over, we would hang out and like toss around ideas and stuff for new Manic songs. And so that was kind of, and there was a point where it started getting near the end where like I knew we were never gonna get to do it,
right?
But it was still just something to occupy, his time and stuff, and I mean, he was hilarious like up till the very end. So it was like about a month before he passed, maybe a little more. I took him to this doctor's appointment, or it was they were putting the camera down his throat. They had to do some stuff, and so they go, you got to get ready for the procedure. And she goes, you don't have to take off your pants, you just have to take off your shirt and put this gown on. And he goes, man, I really wanted to take off my pants. I'm wearing my Spider-Man underwear today. and so then they closed like the curtain, and then when they opened it up, like because it was 2 nurses and me, we were standing there. When they opened up the curtain, it was like he heard him going to do it, and he was standing there like this, like making it anyway. So he was, his humor was just always on point, and he would crack. And one of his friends, one of the nurses, looked at me and said, "I bet you guys laugh all the time." And I'm all like, "Yeah, it's pretty much all we do, But so some of the ideas were stuff that we talked about and thrown around, and that was another thing too. It's like, I want to do this kind of, to get this stuff out, too. So there's 2 EPs. The first one, Back in Brown, we've been putting stuff out. This Monday, we put the first song off the second EP because we thought we were going to have the stuff out a little quicker because they're all like cover songs. Right. We have to get, make sure all the clearance stuff is done. And I don't think we thought about that as far ahead as, we should have. But that should be out. The first one should be out by next week. The new one is going to be called Al Rato and Thanks for All the Chanclas. And we put one of the songs from that out Monday, which was Lowriders from Mars. But we've been playing that one for a long time.
Great song. Great song.
I saw that at the when you guys did that at the Alex's bar, and then you initiated the other singer, the one your guitar tech.
Oh yeah, you saw it.
I was there. You put the Lokes and the hat and the Charlie Brown he was wearing.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite songs too from Manic Hispanic. Still Got a Secret. I love that song.
And see, and you know, like some of those songs we didn't play, not for whatever reasons or whatever. You know, it's like, so we were able to kind of pull out songs that we hadn't done in a long time. And when you got new guys, you can make them play stuff. Like, you got to sing this. You don't have the choice of going, I won't remember all the words. It's like, you're new. You have to do what you're told. So, you know, Louis singing, like, we haven't played that song, Manic Hispanic. I don't think we've ever played it live. If we did, maybe in the very first year that we were playing. So we're playing that. We're playing some of the stuff that we, you know, pulling out some old stuff, you know. So
I'm really stoked about Manilo Incident and Mijo Goes to Junior College are my favorite Manic Hispanic albums. I'm pretty stoked about the upcoming gig you guys got, man.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be, you know, we've rehearsed it a couple times and it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be fun. It's fun playing all those songs like in that, you know, all together.
Yeah.
So, you know, as you make new records, you know, a lot of times the older ones. You start, you know, I want to play all these new songs that we did, you know.
You're excited to get the new material out.
Yeah. I mean, and that happens with any band, you know. And
yeah.
The more records you have, then, you know, at some point you're all like, well, we got 10 records, you know, and we got 90 minutes to play them all in or whatever, you know. So you're trying to figure out which, you know, obviously there's ones that people love, you know. But with like Manic, we have 4 records, but all those songs were already like big songs for someone else. Yeah. So it's not like you go, well, that one's not a hit, because you're like, well, that's New Rose. That's a hit. You know what I mean? So trying to weed through 4 records worth of songs that everyone knows and loves, you know, is it's not easy. So, but doing that, yeah, you know, and actually the Menudo Incident is being released on vinyl.
Through Indecision Records, right?
Yeah. So that was kind of the tie-in too. And then Alex said, I'm going to call the guy over at Lola's and see if he'll serve Menudo. I'm like, even better. Yeah.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
Yeah.
There's no Menudo food truck anywhere?
Yeah.
Call out, put him out front?
The guys, they're doing it. Lola's is bringing it down. They're going to do it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's even cooler.
Yeah.
So you had a busy recording schedule these past couple of months. You did the Manic Hispanic, and then you did the new Adolescents record, which will be out in July, right?
Yeah. Adolescents, we started first, and then right when we were finished, I kind of rolled into, you know, doing the Manic stuff. So but yeah, the Adolescents record, man, I'm so stoked on it. It's like 16 songs. We couldn't, like, it was one of those things where like, should we weed out some of these songs, you know, but we liked them all, and everyone was like, oh man, let's just do it, you know. It's still only like 40 minutes or whatever, because the punk rock songs are short, but yeah, so you know, that went really cool. And Adolescents just did the Floggy Molly Salty Dog cruise, and what else we're going? I think we're going to go to China next year.
Oh wow,
nice.
So we're doing we're doing Riot Fest, but it hasn't been announced yet. But we're going there this year and doing that, and so you know, there's a lot of stuff going on with that, which is great, and you know, we're still having a ball doing it. So you know, it's we're going to Europe this summer, and never been to Bulgaria. We're playing in like Bulgaria and Hungary and Serbia, which is parts of the world we've never been and played in before. So pretty
That's amazing,
interesting for us now, getting to go to places that we've never been before. Like, I'd rather do that, and even if the crowd's small, than like go play some big festival that you played 5 times, you know, even if it's cool and it's in France or something, but I've been there. You know, I've never been to Bulgaria, so that's kind of...
Does it make it feel new again?
Yeah, and it's, you know, there's always that thing too, you know, it's like going places where 20 years ago or 30 years ago we weren't allowed to go to, you know?
Yeah.
Like all those countries that were behind, you know, the Iron Curtain. I played with CJ Ramona. We played in Cuba 2 years ago, and that was crazy. Like, I'd have never thought that I was going to be able to play in Cuba, you know?
Yeah.
So whenever you get to do things like that, I've had a lot of friends. We still haven't played Russia, which we want to do too. And but you know, with the current political situation with our guy, it kind of makes things weird because you know what I mean. He's not making friends anywhere.
Yeah, really.
So if I start a band, I'll be like, you know what? I wish I could have played New Jersey. Now it's a communist country. I can't play it.
Yeah, exactly.
Where's your most favorite place you guys ever played, or you ever played personally?
Oh, man, there's so many awesome cities like in the States and around the world. You know, Prague, I love that city. It's awesome. I love playing in New York and Chicago. You know, Seattle. Like there's in the States. I don't mean to just like I'm naming off the big cities. You know, but some of the smaller ones are fun too. You know, I mean it's all. But I'd say probably Paris. We have a lot of like friends in France. We're good friends with a band called the Burning Heads, and so we have a lot of friends. You know, it's funny because people always go, "Oh, French people are rude." French people are the most awesome people that I've ever met over there. You know, and our crew in Europe is French. It's like these 3 French guys that come out with us, and sound man, a guitar tech, and a driver, and it's like they're sweethearts. You know, so. I would say Paris, you know, and Berlin.
Oh,
I would probably say Berlin overall.
really?
Yeah, in fact, Adolescents are playing there, and I'm also doing an acoustic show because our tour starts in Berlin.
Oh, nice.
So I played a couple times at the Ramones Museum, solo. So I'm going to do that. I go a couple days early, but Berlin's probably like a city where I've got to spend, you know, like a few days in.
Yeah.
A lot of times on tour, you're just going, you know. It's like the first time I went to Paris, I was there for 12 hours.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
so that
You gotta pack it all in.
Yeah, and we were with Floggy Molly and me and the bass player Floggy Molly and one other guy. We literally got in a cab, like went to the Eiffel Tower, jumped out, took pictures, got back in Notre Dame, jumped out, took pictures, and you know we were like, "Oh, get in the." This is before cell phones, so these were the little disposable cameras, but
Fun size ones.
Yeah.
The thrifty cameras.
Oh, like you said, Berlin. That's the first place I went to. When I went to Berlin, was the Ramones Museum. That place is amazing.
Oh yeah,
I love
yeah.
it. I love that whole area in there. And just you walk down further down to that alleyway with all the artwork. Oh, I love that place.
He that guy Flo Holler that does that. He's a writer, but he used to follow the Ramones around all over the country or all over Europe, and CJ used to let him crash out on the floor of his hotel room, you know, when he'd be at shows. So, and they're still friends. Like when I played with CJ, when we played in Japan, Flo came out and hung out with us, and he's a great guy, and it's amazing, you know, what he's done there and stuff too, you know.
Yeah, if you guys need a photographer for Berlin, let me know. I want to go back. That place is beautiful.
It really is. It's an amazing city. Yeah, and I got lucky because the guy Flo that owns that museum, and then I have a friend there. She grew up in East Berlin, and he grew up in West Berlin.
Yeah.
And the 3 of us all got together, and it was like we were cruising around the city. They were showing me all the stuff, but giving me kind of like both sides of what it was like growing up there, you know.
It's a different experience.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was such a, you know, it was a cool way to see the city.
Yeah, I bet.
Well,
I had to rely on Google Maps to kind of learn everything there, but it's its own magic, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, you can go and take pictures of them, and I'll just go and hang out with you guys. Let's go and hang out.
I took like 30,000 pictures in Berlin. Just everything I could take a picture of, I did. I mean, it's the dumbest little sticker on the ground. I would take a picture. That was a beautiful place.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm in recovery, and I do the AA thing, and I actually got to speak at a meeting in Berlin.
Oh wow!
And that was to me like the coolest thing, you know. To get meet some other people from, you know, and mostly since it was English speaking, it was people that probably weren't normally, you know, I mean, like weren't Germans, but worked there, but lived in English speaking countries and stuff. But it was really cool.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a lot of awesome people there, you know. So
how long have you been sober for?
6 years now.
6 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Congrats. That's
Congratulations.
an accomplishment. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy, but you know, it was worth it. Definitely. For
Definitely.
sure.
Yeah, I had a friend just celebrate his 25th.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and he's been doing it. Love the guy. You know, he's doing really good.
Yeah.
So
You know,
my hats off.
It's funny because going back to Gabby too. because I was sober for like 14 years, and then I kind of went off, and so Manic, he was doing his 10th sober birthday because he had gone off for a while and came back, and so he calls me up and goes, "Hey, I invited all the guys in Manic to come to this meeting. I'm taking my 10-year, getting my 10-year chip, taking a cake." And I go, "Okay," and it was like close to my house, and I'm like, "All right, I'll go." But I was in the midst of just, it was probably the worst times for me. But I go down there, and none of the other guys in the band were there. And I'm, oh, man, those guys are lame. I'm here for my bro, And as I was sitting in that meeting, I was looking around, and, like there's all these guys that I knew from growing up that had been like out of control, like punk rock guys. And now they're all like doing great, and they own houses and stuff. And I'm all like, man, I don't need this. But if I did, this would be the place to go, because this place really works.
I thought you were gonna say that he did pulled like an A&E intervention on you.
Well, check it out. He kind of, in a way, he did, because when I was looking around, it kind of was in my head. So when I got to that point in my life where it was like, okay, I need to get clean, and I'm not doing it by myself. I had before, and this time I can't. It's just not happening. I get like a week, and I'd go out, and I'd get it. I just couldn't get up any time. So I called him up, and I go, "Hey, where should I go? What do I do?" And he pointed me to this meeting in Long Beach, and I started going there. And around that time, it was coming up on his year again. He was taking his 11 years. Except now this time we're in the meeting together, and not me as his guest or whatever. But I'm sitting there, and he's talking as he's taking his chip, and I'm all, no one else in the band showed up, and I was there. I go, I wonder if he did that. So when he finished talking, I took him aside, and I go, "Hey, last year I was the only guy that showed up." I go, "Did you invite anyone else?" And I go, "You said you were inviting the band." And he goes, "Well, I was inviting the guy in the band that needed to be there the most, besides me." And I'm all, "You sneaky bastard," but it worked, It totally worked, So I mean, I can never forget that. That was a pretty awesome thing for him to weasel me into.
Sneaky. But that's kind of awesome that he actually found his calling by helping other addicts recover.
Totally. He definitely loved helping people, and being there for people. Like he'd joke around sometimes and go, "Oh, I'm the emotional tampon." I'm all, you love being the emotional tampon. You love every second of it. And he did. I mean, definitely part of the magic of that guy. Was that he loved people. He loved helping people, and so many people considered him the friend, like a friend. Like he made everyone feel like,
He's just embraced everyone.
Yeah.
It's it's just very loving.
Yeah.
Very loving.
Yeah, the Rock reunion, I was taking pictures of him.
Uh-huh.
I got some really good ones. And after the show, I told him, "Hey, can I get one more picture of you?" And he goes, "Hey, did you get enough good pictures? Now we'll go do our set again."
Speaking of Cadillac Tramps, I was texting Brian Coakley late last week, and it was a question for Warren, but maybe you could answer it. What is Carmex?
God, I should let Warren answer that. But I'm pretty sure. If it is what I think, that was definitely a Tramps thing. I wasn't there for it, but I've heard the stories.
He said it was a behind the scenes Manic Hispanic about Gabby.
Manic Hispanic about Gabby?
Behind the scenes Manic Hispanic thread, like a text thread, I guess. I don't know. But he said just ask about Carmex.
And then he laughed. Different.
And then he laughed.
Well,
okay, so what is Carmex?
Well, the thing I'm thinking of, Gabby used to always have these kind of weird remedies for things. So I think he used Carmex for something other than his lips. It was like Carmex, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But right, he used to.
I fucked him up with that one, didn't I?
He used to wash his balls with rubbing alcohol in the van. So you'd be sitting, and the Cadillac Trams would always talk about it, and we never witnessed it. And then one time Manic was out, and he did it, and it was like we were looking at each other like, oh man. And it's a really weird smell, you know what I mean? Like the mixture of the elements that's going on. But so that might have been when you first said that, I think I've heard stories of him, if his sphincter was a little itchy or something, he'd use whatever remedy. But it might be something completely, I would have to ask Warren now, because that could be something different.
Yeah, we definitely got to bring Warren in now just to ask.
There's always been crazy threads, it's funny, I've every once in a while I'll go through and look through threads I had with him. And there's some of them, I mean, there's just stuff that I would never want anyone but me and him and Warren or whoever, you know what I mean? It's just like, but he was a strange, funny man, with a warped sense of humor. I mean, Gabby used to be, we'd be sitting in a dressing room and he'd have his hand down the front of his pants. And the door would start to open. He'd pull his hand out. And then whoever walked in, he'd be like sticking his hand out. And everyone in the room's looking around. I'm like, oh, man.
It's funny because I was looking at videos of Gabby. And I guess it was like about 5 Christmases ago, my girlfriend got me these pants with little dogs on them. They're like a little like pajama pants. And you got them for $2 at this like little swap meet thing. And I was looking at videos of Gabby, and he had the exact same fucking pajama pants, and I thought that was fucking cool, just like, and they were like $2 pants,
Yeah.
Hey, fool, Giggles was right, eh? Computers are the key to the future.
Chale.
I can't believe it, the way you trip sometimes, like a perro loco on a city street. Oh yeah, and I won't have it. The shit they're pushing on me. Starbucks, Priuses, and SUVs. Jolly. 'Cause I'm a 21st century vato loco. I got a 57 and you know I'm riding low. My old man's a mechanic and he works somewhere in Whittier. Mama owns a hair salon, she can make you prettier. That's how it is for me, yeah. I love your jeans, man. The shit you're talking all day. I'm going, Charlie. 'Cause I'm a 21st century vato loco. I got a 57 and you know I'm riding low. My old man's a mechanic and he works somewhere in Whittier. Mama owns a hair salon, she can make you prettier. That's how it is for me, yeah. Try to tell you that that's how I roll, but you don't really wanna know. You're telling everyone that I'm a mentiroso. You ain't nothing but a big baboso. And you know I'm riding low. My old man's a mechanic and he works somewhere in Whittier. Mama owns a hair salon, she can make you prettier. Hey, check out my ride. It's like down low so your mom can get inside. Check on the hood, it's looking real fine. It's everything I wanted, her Toronto is mine. That's how it is for me, yeah.
Check you out, fool. You're like the Esteban Jobs or the Marco Zuckerbergs.
Okay, we're back. I read in an old interview that you have your great grandfather's guitar that he used to play in Mexico?
Yeah. Well, I got it from my grandfather, but yeah, it belonged to my great-grandfather, yeah.
Was your grandparents or your father an influence on you picking up your instrument?
No. When I was younger, my grandfather, I guess, say it now because he's not with us anymore. He was a scandalous dude. So, when we were younger, we didn't see him that much, and when we did, it was always like, don't tell your grandma you went to your grandfather's house, I still remember my mom turning around in the car going, now, we weren't just here, kind of thing. So we didn't see him much when I was younger. I don't think my dad even had much of a relationship with him until my grandfather's second wife passed away, and then my dad started, kind of taking care of him or looking after him, and so for those last 20 years, that was when I really got to know him.
Mm-hmm.
And he would tell me all these stories that I'd never, heard before, which about that, he said all the Soto men where they were from, like, used to play and he goes, we'd always, my dad would always get invited to the parties because they wanted someone to play music.
Yeah.
Give him some beers, he'll pick up a guitar and start entertaining everybody. So that came from there. My dad never played music, but he loved music. Like, he grew up in L.A. and he was like really into jazz and stuff too. But he saw all these like amazing bands down in Central in the 50s and stuff. And that scene was totally booming. And so there was always music in our house. And now when I look back on it, he was kind of smart when I started getting into the whole punk rock thing, and they wanted to know what I was listening to, but didn't want to just take my, he'd come in and goes like, hey, let's do this thing. You play me a song and then I'll play you a song. And let's see, so we'd play each other, and then somebody play me your best drummer, and I mean, he's got these jazz guys that are like killer, and I'm going like, this is Ringo, Dad, or as I got older, this is Todd Barnes from TSOL. He's gonna take that jazz guy down. But so he and to this day, like he loves music, so it's like I know I got that from him, that love of music, but he never played. He had a little bongo in his room sometimes when I hear him back there like bang out, but never in time and never very good.
He just had it in his heart.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, was the bass the first instrument you picked up, or was it guitar?
Well, I tried to play guitar at one point. My grandfather had given my dad some guitars to give us. One was a nylon string guitar. My sister grabbed that one, and she was getting piano lessons. Like, my mom's mom had given us a piano, and I had no interest in the piano because I didn't know about like Jerry Lee Lewis or anyone cool playing piano. I just seen Liberace or something playing piano. I'm like, I don't need to play that.
Not my cup of tea.
Yeah, which I kick myself for now, because if I'd learned piano, like, it would have unlocked everything, I think, for me. But so I tried to play this guitar, and it was like steel string guitar. And when I got older and learned how to play and went back and looked at it, like, the frets were really high. The strings were really high off the fretboard. Like, I don't think as a grown man I could have played that guitar. So
that was your first turn on guitar.
Yeah, and so I was like maybe in the 3rd or 4th grade, and I tried and it didn't work, and I was devastated because I got these Beatle records when I was 5 from my cousins. Like, they got into the Rolling Stones and went like, here, take these crappy Beatle records. We like the Stones. We don't need this. It was like the greatest thing that ever happened to me. But from probably when I was like 6 or 7 years old, like, I never went, oh, I want to be a fireman or I want to be this. It's like, I just wanted to be in the Beatles, which I found out I couldn't do. But I wanted to play music,
Hey, dreams are free.
So the weirdest thing happened is my dad got a job in Orange County. He worked for the city, and his office wasn't in City Hall. It was at like a park in Placentia, and so he was Recreation and Human Services is what he did. So anyway, but on Saturdays he would go down there to do some work, and I think probably get me out of the house. He'd take me with him, so I'd leave my mom, like, stop bugging the crap out of her. So I go in there one day, and I look in the lost and found thing, and there's this guitar case, and I open it up, and it was a Hofner bass, which is like Paul McCartney played.
Yeah.
Exact same model, and I was like, it was like finding the Holy Grail or something. I'm like, Dad, what is this doing here? And he goes, you know what? That's been here for like 6 months. Some band played down in the park and they left it and no one's ever come back for it. So, I'm like, yeah, let me take this home. And he's like, you can't do that, So every Saturday I would go with him. And he'd be in his office and I'd sit in the lobby and like try to figure out. I just mostly looked at myself with it in the mirror in the bathroom. I hold it up. I couldn't play it.
The first step.
So at some point, after about another year of that, my dad was friends with the chief of police, and he goes like, "Well, what do we do with this stuff, And he goes, "No one's come after it. And it's been almost 2 years." And my dad goes, "Yeah," and he goes, "Just let him take it home."
Nice.
So
your first base was a Hofner.
Yeah. And this is how stupid I am about gear, especially not anymore, but back then. I had it for like a couple years, and then when I started playing punk rock, like the Hofner has a hollow body and it didn't sound good and it feedback. We were trying to play loud, and I traded it for a Fender, and it was a Mustang bass. But the old Mustangs were kind of cool. It had like a humbucker pickup in, but definitely not a fair, even trade for like a Hofner.
Absolutely not.
And so, but I did it. There's this guy that, when I first moved into this neighborhood, like the first week, I'm walking around and I hear this band playing in the garage, and I didn't know what they were playing because I only knew, I knew the Beatles and the Beach Boys and like 70s radio stuff mostly. And they were playing Black Sabbath. They mostly did Black Sabbath covers. And I remember just sitting there going, man, this sounded evil and very, very cool. So he gave me like 3 bass lessons, which I just didn't really have any time for, and like my mind, I don't know why. I just thought I'm just going to listen to these records and figure it out. And, he traded me because he goes, well, this won't feed back. And that was all I cared about. Okay, cool. I just need something that I can play real loud, and it looked cooler. At that point, like the violin bass, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I can. Dee Dee Ramone played a P bass, and the Mustang looks kind of like a small version of the P bass. So it all just was like, all right, this makes way more sense. And it wasn't until I was older and started learning about gear where I went like, ooh.
The hand slap to the forehead right there.
And then even that Mustang though would have been worth something, because they, like I said, it had a humbucker pickup. It was a different kind of Mustang, so it was kind of special. But I don't even know what happened to that. I think I broke it, like just threw it somewhere or something. Those were the fuzzy years,
And I could just picture the guy saying, "So how did you get that Hofner bass? Some punker kid traded me for that piece of shit Mustang bass I had. I put a humbucker in that thing." Cause like,
yeah, it's funny, that whole family. His younger brother was in Agent Orange when we first started, but he played synthesizer, and he had a Moog synthesizer. When we were listening, I mean, like first, there was keyboards and music was like cool, and then you're like, well, there's not keyboards in the Ramones, and there's not a lot of keyboards and this and that. But some of the other more obscure stuff we listened to, like the Deadbeats and stuff like that, there was different. So we were kind of like, all right, we can make this work. And then we kind of just went like, no, and he was by far way more punk than us in the first place, and I think our parents were like nervous of him, like we used to call him Biddy, and they go, he was. I could see like our moms were all like, I don't know about this kid. He's going to get you in trouble. So sadly, I mean, now we're friends. It's great because I reconnected with him years later, and he's such an awesome guy. And I honestly can say that if it wasn't for his family, his sister brought home the first like punk rock records we ever heard from college. And, that's how I heard the Ramones and the Sex Pistols was in their living room, and so one night I was in like Croatia or some kind of crazy place we'd done a festival, and like I wrote him, and I'm all, it's so weird that if it wasn't for you guys, like none of this might have ever happened for me, including his brother swapping me out on the bass, you know what I mean? So,
like, thanks.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I really do. I have so much gratitude for them for all that, like it's life changing.
It's life's little happy accidents, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And it's like what all roads lead to here or whatever. But I mean, my roads, some things that have happened, I've got to do some amazing stuff, and I mean, really, you could take it back to. It's funny how like certain small things, you know, my dad getting a job in Orange County, so we lived in Riverside before, and none of us wanted to come here. You know, I was like, I want to stay with my friends, and if I had stayed there, I would have probably had a mustache and a Camaro. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even, you know,
listening to Journey.
Yeah, you know,
Hey, Toto.
I mean, I went back one time and I walked around my old neighborhood, and all those guys, they punk rock never got to them.
Dude, really?
You know, yeah. And I tried to go, well, check this stuff out. And they're like, dude, it's not Zeppelin, like, bail.
That guy doesn't sound like Steve Perry at all.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's wrong. Steve Perry.
So I mean, there's a lot of Clash songs on that you guys do for Manic Hispanic. I mean, was that one of your influences or Gabby's influence, or is it just
Definitely. When I was in Agent Orange, we got the first Clash record, and then Give 'Em Enough Rope came out when I was in the band in Agent Orange, and I remember going like, man, 2 guitars is kind of awesome. And so at that point, like, I kind of knew at some point I was going to do something else. And I wanted to write songs, and Mike wanted to be the only songwriter. And, you know, that was his prerogative. His band, you know, he kind of was running everything. So, but I knew that when I started playing in a new band, I wanted 2 guitar players. And it's all because of that record. Like, just,
really?
the guitar interplay, you know, is so cool. And that was, you know, for me, I've never been in a 3-piece band ever since. You know, it's always been 2 guitar players. I can't even imagine, you know, writing music without 2 guitar parts to me. So yeah, the Clash was huge, you know, on that. And Gabby loved the Clash. I mean, it was probably all of our favorite bands, you know.
Yeah.
And the most awesome part about all that is Joe Strummer was aware of Manic Hispanic by the end.
Hell yeah.
And when we did the second record, and Brown Man and OCJ was on it.
Yeah.
So we were trying to get the clearance or whatever for that, and whoever was Joe Strummer's manager at the time, Maurice, our guitar player, talked to, because Maurice also worked for the record label, and he called back and he goes, yeah, you know, Joe's cool. He goes, he wants to know if OCJ is Orange County Jail, because at that point Strummer had been spending some time with Brian Setzer, who lived in Orange County for a while, right? So, and one night Brian Setzer and Joe Strummer came down. Oh, what was the name of the car club? There was a car club that somehow met him, and so they were intrigued by the car club guys because they had all these cool, like, you know, old cars and that culture for them. You know, there's English guys, you know, or, you know, Strummer is. So anyway, they all showed up at the Doll Hut. And I'm all, there's no way that I wasn't there. And I'm all, there was no way Joe Strummer's here. And this guy that I know goes out, comes back the next week with his guitar that it was signed by Joe Strummer, and even wrote, hanging at the Doll Hut on this guy's acoustic guitar, you know. So
and you're not here, Steve Soto.
Yeah, exactly, you know. But when Joe Strummer played the Hootenanny, but back to the manager. So when he said, is it OCJ? And he goes, well, Joe said to tell you guys, if you ever make a video of this song, he would be in it. But that was back when making a video cost like $100,000 because you had real cameras and all that stuff. So that never happened. But when he played the Hootenanny, Warren and I brought him like a couple hats and some shirts and stuff. And when we went up, he was like, "Oh, Manic Hispanic, I love you guys." and he signed Warren's Manic Hispanic book.
Wow.
Like from the or no, it was the Clash on Broadway book, but it says, "I love Manic Hispanic," you know, Warren something, and then he's all, "Love Joe Strummer."
Wow. And you're not here, Steve Soto.
Yeah. No, I was standing right there, but once again, you know, in my fuck ups in life, I'm always like, I've never asked people for autographs, and either the ones that I've wanted to, I haven't. Like that day, I was just like, I don't have anything for him to sign, and I don't want to go here to sign the back of my driver's license or something. You know what I mean? I should have, you know. But yeah, so Warren was smart, and he brought that, and Alex from Alex's Bar had like 15 posters, and he brought them all. And I'm all, dude, he's not going to sign 15 posters. He sat there and signed every one of them.
That is so.
And Alex, gave them to some of his friends and stuff, but he's got a couple hanging up in the, back of the bar and stuff too. Joe Strummer was like the nicest guy ever, and he took time, like actually hung out and talked to me and Warren for a little while.
That is so fucking cool.
Amazing.
It was pretty awesome.
Amazing.
I think out of if I can name 15 of the most greatest human beings on the planet, Joe Strummer's definitely one of them.
Yeah, for sure. Like to me, I always the holy trilogy of punk rock singers is Joey Ramone, Joe Strummer, and then Dave Vaney and the Holy Ghost. It's like, and two of those guys in my life where I've actually like that day was awesome with Joe Strummer. I actually got to record music with Joey Ramone and had a friendship with him, which was really trippy. As it, you know what I mean? Because you're still like, sometimes, you're at Starbucks with them and then you're going, dude, I'm at Starbucks with you. You want to, and this is before phones, before cell phones, so you couldn't prove it. Like, sneak a little video and post it on Facebook. Just hanging out with Joey Ramone. But,
sharing a latte with Joey Ramone.
But and then Dave Vaney, and I played like probably 30 shows with the Damned throughout the years. And every time I've tried to walk up and go, hey man, thanks for all the great music, it's like I always say, he Heisman's me. He gives me like the fuck, And for years, it would just be like I'd be walking down the same hallway at House of Blues, and it was almost, I just felt like he'd see me and go, cut that different way.
Oh shit! Here comes Steve again.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought, right? So
you were never there.
So when I was drinking, those 3 years I was drinking again. We played a festival with them in England, and Pinch, the drummer of the Damned's a good friend of mine, and at first I'm all, dude, I'm gonna call Dave Vaney out on this crap today, and we're like drinking vodka, and he's like, yeah, do it, because it's gonna be comedy for him either way, right? Yeah. So then I'm all, no, dude, it's Dave Vaney, and I'm not doing this. Mm-hmm. So walking out of the dressing room, and we're walking past Dave, and Pinch just stops right in front of Vaney and goes, hey Dave, this is my friend Steve, he's got something he wants to say to you. So I'm wasted, and I just looked at him and I'm all, hey Dave, do you know what the Heisman Trophy is? And he goes, no, and I'm like, well, it's an American football trophy and it looks like this, and I show him how the Heisman looked. And I go, and I kind of feel like that's how you run me every time I see you. And I go, I'm not trying to be your bro. I go, I just want, I'm in my 40s and I'm making a living playing music, and that probably wouldn't have happened if your band hadn't existed and inspired me the way it did. That's all I've ever really wanted to say. I really don't, I don't want to take up your time and, whatever. And he was being cool, and you could tell he was just kind of still a little startled by my whole thing. So then he's married to Patricia, who was in a band called The Bags in LA in the 70s. Late 70s, early 80s. So and I love the Bags. They have a song called Survive that was like a 7-inch that still to this day one of the best punk rock songs ever in my book. And so I said, I go, hey, and she was in Lethal Weapon before I was. So I said, hey, I replaced your wife in Lethal Weapon, and someone had told me if you talk about his wife, he's real friendly, like he's super proud of her, and So he starts being, he's, oh, that's great. And I go, yeah. I go, have you ever heard that Survive EP? It's it's amazing. And he goes, yeah. And I go, yeah, it's one of the best punk records ever. And I go, I think it's better than most of your stuff. I got to split. And then I just took off. So we don't see him again. I hadn't seen the Damned for a long time. And then, and I asked Pinch, dude, did I blow it? And he goes, nah, he was laughing. It was all right. But anyway, about 2 years ago, CJ Ramone opened up for the Damned in LA, and when I was walking through the hallway, I walked by and I looked at him and he goes, hello, Steve. But then he kept walking, but at least he remembered my name, right?
That would have been great if you would have gave him the Heisman and just turn the tables around.
Yeah. Just give him a football,
Go along.
Can you sign this?
So just going back to Manic Hispanic, how did you guys choose the songs that were beyond there? To parody. Did they come with lyrics, or it was just something? How did that process work?
The thing, it's usually like someone will come up with like, like the song title.
Okay.
And then they just kind of write themselves. And we used to joke around, like Warren and I wrote a lot of that stuff, and then we'd get it to Gabby, and it was just like he'd take it to the whole next level. It was always kind of awesome to have something, and when you're giving, because he's gonna give it back to you, like just shine it up a little more.
Gabby-fy it.
Yeah, and it's all But I mean, like Warren writes a lot of that stuff. One of my favorites is Cruise, like the Bruise.
Yeah,
and that's all Warren. My Tia cooks a goat out in the backyard in a pit, like that's all, and he's all, it's true, dude, that happened in my so
smoking lanios and boning chicas.
Yeah.
You know what lyric I could never figure out? Was it since we're giving it away, we're taking communion? How does that lyric
Oh no,
go?
sins forgiven when taking communion. So sins forgiven when taking communion.
I love that song. That's such a great song. So you and Warren would write the songs, and Gabby would
I mean,
polish them
everyone
up.
did. Everyone had parts of like not just me and Warren, but everyone would come up, toss an idea around. Like you could give Gabby a title, and he'd come back and go, "Here you go."
Give you a full song.
So I like Brown Man and OCJ. I wrote that one, and it's like Sonny actually got arrested when we played in Old World.
Okay.
And so that was kind of actually about, he got arrested on the way home from the show. So it's almost a true story in a comedy setting. You know what I mean?
So he really didn't make it home to the Clika.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so yeah, like, so, a lot of that stuff is like that. If you listen, the early records, there wasn't a lot of, you know what I mean? Like, in fact, when Louis learned these songs, and he goes, "Can you send me the words?" And I was like, I sat down and listened to them all. Some of them we didn't really change. There was some lazy aspects of Manic Hispanic too. Whereas as it progressed, I mean, like now, it's we kind of perfected it over time, where we're like, okay, we gotta step it up a little more with these lyrics, and not just kind of half-ass it, But when we made that first record, we didn't even know we were going to make a record that day, So it was kind of like, it was all on the spot, and we did it in a day and a half.
Wow.
In fact, one of the songs, I think we weren't going to put Jet Muchacho on, which I'm glad we did, because it's like one of the funniest ones.
Yeah.
But I had already split. I think I had to go, work at the Doll Hut or something, and I had left. And then they called and said, "Hey, can you come back and play the guitar solo?" And I'm like, "Dude, it's packed down here, and I'm running the whole show. I can't leave." So our friend Brad DeLucas, or Brad Logan from now he was in F-. He's in a band called Rats on the Wall now, Leftover Crack. Mm-hmm. But Bradley was just like a guy that hung around, and he was just happened to be down there, and I'm all, have Bradley go just run in and play. So he played the guitar solo on that, because it was one of those things. I mean, we seriously did that record, and it was done, Mm-hmm. And so when at some point we broke up, when Gabby went out on his run and started getting loaded again and stuff, and I was in 22 Jacks, I was gone. That band toured like 200 days a year easily, So the band kind of wasn't happening that much before we did the Recline record. And then someone bought the label Dr. Dream. Mm-hmm. And so then the guy that bought it was going through the books, and he goes, "This Manic Hispanic record made me more money than all these other bands." And partially it's because we had really small studio budgets, so we were like out of the red pretty quick, We didn't tell him that. We just go, "Dude, come on. People love us,
Multi-platinum artist.
But so he calls me up, and he goes, I want to get Manic. I want another Manic Hispanic record, and I heard you and Gabby are the guys I have to talk to." Mm-hmm. And I'm all, "Okay." And he goes, "Gabby says, if I pay you guys a little money on the side, you'll talk everyone else."
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And I'm all, he speaks for me as well on that. I'm with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
It's just keep talking. I like what I'm hearing right now.
So that's how Recline came in.
So I wrote that night. I go, okay, we got to have some new songs, and I did the Brown Man and OCJ. Like I put that one together, and then just everything kind of someone came up with a title for Get 'Em Immigrated, and then Gabby just went, on a run with that. And, so, but that record was crazy because he was high. And there was one day he showed up and he was just like, just give me the tapes and I'm going to take them to this other studio and put my vocals on there. And we're like, nah, we'll never. This is back when nothing was digital. It was on like these big reels, and it was like, I don't feel good about that, because he pulled up one time with the chicken cages on the back of his pickup truck, to the studio. I'm all, what are you doing? He goes, nothing. Don't worry about it. He just,
It's like, do we need to feed those fucking things before we go and record?
Nothing to see.
They're gonna be part of the album.
Keep it moving.
Grupo Sexo was one of my favorite albums, man. And Welcome to Paramount. Oh my God, man. Laughing my ass off. One of my all-time favorite songs from Manic Hispanic. Just curious, did you guys ever spend any time out here in Paramount?
No, we didn't, or I didn't, and I wrote most of that. So yeah, that was one of those things where the title fit first,
right?
Welcome to Paradise. Someone was like, "We got to do a Green Day song." Okay, Welcome to Paradise. Okay, So and then it just kind of went from there.
I just love all the little Gabby-isms throughout the song, tamales. Yeah. Oh my God, it's just great. Yeah. Great.
And that stuff was all, like all the little bits and stuff. We just put him in a room with a microphone, and today, because we're doing the Menudo incident this weekend. I was listening to the songs, but I hadn't listened to the poem because. It's like we never play that. So
the drive-by smile.
Yeah. Right. So, and what we're going to do is when we're done with all the songs up to that, then we're just going to blast that through, the loudspeakers. But I haven't listened to that in, 5 or 6 years even. Right. Just, and it was trippy because, hearing him was emotional. Mm-hmm. Right. But then I was listening to us and I was just thinking about what that happened that day, and I cracked him up at one point. He's saying something, and he kind of laughs for a second, or he kind of, and because I was doing those real high doo-wop, that stuff.
Was that you?
That's me. And I was so much louder than everyone else that I was like 10 feet away from the mic. So I was like way far off. But when I was doing it and I hit like where I got like up to like the highest thing that I'd done, and I think I caught him off guard, and he kind of like chuckled for a second, and I remember that all happening. But that's all live. Warren is doing the real low one, and then Ace and Mo and Ruben were doing kind of the middle stuff. But it was all live, and it was all one take, and he did that all just off the top of his head, Wow. And
that was the funniest shit when I first heard it. I was laughing my ass off.
Yeah, his one take stuff. What's the other one? Tijuana Must Fall.
Yeah,
he didn't have words for that. He just went in and just knocked it out. And that guy's left me in tears so many times. Just from that kind of stuff. And it's like, but yeah.
I just remember that one part of that song where he's saying like, and your Theo comes in, rah, rah. It means go get word. I love that.
But then if because then he says my Theo Bobby Pin, and Bobby Pin was Darby's name before he was Darby in the Germs. So when he says go get your bow, he does like the Darby crash thing. Yeah, it's all that kind of stuff. That's just that's just coming out of his brain. You know what I mean? It's like
off the cuff.
Yeah. I miss that, and I can't express how fortunate that I was to like be around him that much, because it was just so many like amazing laughs. And it's not to say that we butted heads sometimes, and always over stupid stuff, you know what I mean? But band stuff or whatever, we should do this show. I don't think we should do this show. And then it was like, well, and then he and I would kind of have that, because we were both kind of, running our own bands So then you have that, like, well, who's the boss here? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's kind of like
we got two alphas in a cage.
Yeah. So every once in a while, it got weird, but never bad enough. It was, but yeah, most of all of it was just hilarity, just all the time. Yeah. Doing those records with him, even the craziest one, which was the Recline, where he was out of his mind, was fun, and I have like in my head like these memories of that, and different, there's one of those, I think it's on the first one where the pizza guy comes in.
Yeah. And, right before Rudy Cholo, right?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So it's on the second record then, where he's all like, hey, you see those guys in there? Those guys are Jotos. And like, the white man's in there. He's got all the money or something. Yeah. And when that was going down, like, none of that's planned. The pizza guy really did come in while he was out there getting ready to do a vocal track. And so it's just there, on the mic.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, I mean, it's all, a lot of his best stuff is not planned. It's just,
just spontaneous.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Those are best things.
Yeah.
Did you ever witness anybody touching tongues for $20?
No one ever went for it.
What?
Okay, so Gabby had this thing. I don't know if he had it in Manic Hispanic, but he definitely had it in the Cadillac Tramps, where he pull out $20, and he would say, "I'll give you two guys right there $20 if you touch tongues for 3 seconds."
Yeah. No one ever did it, and most of his jokes could move back and forth between both bands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like one time even in the Flock, he's up there and all of a sudden he starts like, talking more into like his Cholo thing, and I'm like, dude, wrong band. Act a little fruity right now or something. You're wearing a dress, bro. Like, it's not the time. But
wrong area code.
But yeah, no, I never saw, but a lot of that same, shtick definitely happened in the Tramps and in Manic. So yeah, no, I never saw anyone do it, which I'm kind of stoked on.
I figure with all those shows, there would have at least been 2 per people that did it.
At least.
Yeah, at least.
They had to be drunk.
Probably nowadays you'll get that.
Yeah. But that was always my favorite part, when you try to get 2 people to touch tongues. That was always my favorite part.
Well, there's a guy that used to come all the time, and he had like really long hair and a beard. And there was a couple guys that would come to shows were like longer hair or something, and he'd pick them out, and then they always make the Ted Nugent jokes. And so then after some point, I knew to kick right into like cat scratch fever while he's talking, and it was,
Now, there's a video out on YouTube of OCJ, but it's cut to Blood In, Blood Out. Did you guys have a part of that?
No, I've never seen that.
Yeah, somebody actually cut OCJ, and the lyrics go along with scenes from Blood In, Blood Out.
No way.
Yeah, you got to check it out.
Wow.
I'll send you the link. It's
that's
cool.
awesome.
It says directed by so and so, and it said in parentheses El Pinche Director. So yeah, I thought it was you guys because of that. I was just curious. I was going to ask you about that.
No, that's the first I've heard of it, but I can't wait to go home and watch it.
It's cut clean. I mean, every scene has, every lyric has its own scene. I mean, it's really cool.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I gotta see that. That's amazing.
See, it's amazing what your fans and a computer can do. Right?
Exactly.
I wish I had those skills, because like now, as we were waiting for like permission to release the stuff, we still wanted to get it out somehow. So we've been doing it, on YouTube, and just, one of them is just some photos from a live show. I'm making them on like my iPhoto thing. You know what I mean? The slideshow. It's so, it's totally super chunty. You know what I mean? That's what I just think. This is how my grandpa would do this.
Mijo, bring out the projector.
I always loved shit like my grandfather would have like the broom with like, you could tell he nailed the push broom back together like that, just like all this stuff that I can fix this and wrap tape all around it.
No, the duct tape.
My dad, and it comes down through the bloodline, because like my dad one time, something happened to my mom's car, and there's like plastic thing from under the bottom. I guess it's like an undercover or whatever.
A skid plate.
Yeah. So it'd fallen kind of down. And he goes, well, he goes, I can't get it into the shop until Monday or something. So this is like Saturday afternoon. A little while later, I walk out, and he'd taken an extension cord and like tied it under. They found a hole in the thing, tied it through there, tied that to the bumper. So it was all tied up.
That's called a Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. That's Mexican American engineering.
Oh
and
yeah,
finance.
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, so that's like with these videos and stuff, like I'm impressed, like because today, as a matter of fact, I'm all, I gotta get past this slideshow bullshit. I'm wondering if iMovies, like I can make something, because we have 5 new songs that are, like I don't want to do 5 more slideshows, So.
A lot of work.
A lot of work.
What is your heritage? Are you do you have Hispanic heritage?
Yes, I'm Swedish and Mexican.
Okay.
And it's funny because my grandma used to always be, she'd always go, oh, well, we're Spanish, and she'd tell my dad, like, my uncle, like, no, you're not Mexican, you're Spanish, and they knew to piss her off. They, soy puro Mexicano, and she'd get pissed, right? But we did that DNA test thing, and sure as shit, my dad is like three quarters Iberian, which is Spain, and a quarter American, and so maybe she wasn't lying. Everyone always thought she was lying. But her family, my great-great-grandfather owned Chavez Ravine. He was that Chavez.
Oh, wow.
And sold it to the state, or,
Right.
like years and years ago before they knew what they were going to do with it or anything. But he had owned that property. So my dad's whole family's from L.A. and Santa Monica, like around in there.
And did you grow up speaking a lot of Spanish?
Nah, my mom's Swedish, and not from Sweden, but majority she's like, and so yeah, I grew up in total suburban, just white family. My dad, she beat the Mexican out of my dad. He fought back for it later. You know what I mean? Like, and it's funny. My dad probably didn't speak Spanish until he started hanging out with my grandfather, and they kind of rebuilt their relationship. And then I'd go over there with him, and they'd be like speaking Spanish, and I'm just all, it's your fault I don't know this shit.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's funny, like different guys in the bands, like with Manic, like Warren grew up in Tokerstown and Fullerton, like, like right in the thick of it. Ephraim, was like a skateboard kid. Gabby's kind of in between. You know what I mean? He grew up in Westminster, but it's like, there was a period in high school. I think he used to tell people he was Italian just to, not get fucked with or something.
That's what Brian Coakley said.
Yeah,
it's in the documentary, I think, too.
Yeah. So, Gilbert is the new guy, like he fully grew up, in Santa Ana somewhere, so I mean, like, and we're more, and Maurice, we always joke, Maurice is like he plays golf and doesn't even, he's saying out of step. That's Maurice singing the Out of Step with La Raza. That's, yeah. So we all kind of have our different, like levels of it and stuff. When we'd go to parties at my dad's side of the family, that's when, you'd be like, okay. And then we go to parties at my mom's side of the family, and you're like sitting there like,
the quiet ones.
yeah.
What party had the better food?
Oh, come on.
The one with the tamales, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You mean the smorgasbord, right?
Which one you got drunk at the most? They greeted you with a beer. That was it.
So you got how many shows in LA with Adolescents coming up?
Adolescents are doing. We're playing there's that new club Marty's on Newport, so we're playing there, and then we're doing the Borderline, which is in Thousand Oaks. Those are our last 2 shows before we take off for Europe, and then we'll be there all summer, and then we come back and we'll do Riot Fest in the fall, and then we play every year like the first week of December at the Observatory. So that'll probably be. Usually stuff kind of falls in between. Some stuff pops up. We just did Muse Inc. and that was like not a last minute thing, but it came up just kind of out of nowhere. Like, hey, you guys want to do this? Hell yeah! Play with the Descendants in Fear. Sounds fun.
Oh hell yeah!
Why wouldn't you want to?
Yeah.
Now, are you testing out the new material on those music? And
we did on the cruise. We played twice. Like all the bands on the Floggy Molly cruise, you play like 2 nights. So either Friday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever. So our nights were Friday and Saturday, and we did 3 new songs each night. Just kind of mixed them in to the set, not all at once. You know what I mean? But kind of. And we didn't fuck them up, so that's always the most important thing, a lot of times because of band schedules and everyone's schedule, and the older you are, like it's harder to get to. When you're younger, we used to go like we rehearse Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and if you're not there, you're kicked out of the band. Now it's like, hey, dude, can you rehearse like 3 weeks from now on a Tuesday? Oh, bro, I don't know. But so a lot of times you start a tour. And you kind of know the new songs. And by like 4 weeks into the tour, you're killing it. Yeah. But the first shows were kind of, and we always would try to like we'd always play Alex's the week after we got back from Europe because we go, this is the best we're going to sound because we just pretty much rehearsed 5 weeks in a row.
All polished off.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So those shows are always killer and fun, but like, so this year's, I'm trying, that's my goal is get everyone, like, let's not start off kind of shaky, let's know it when we go over there, so we actually have like usually we'll just do like hourly rehearsals somewhere, but we got a lockout for the next couple of months, so we'll see.
For those of you in podcast land, he was crossing his fingers.
You rehearse over the phone like the old days too.
Yeah.
But now you can do it via Skype.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're fucking up. Look at my fingers.
There's a movie that they did that in. What's that called? The Rocker.
Oh yes.
Yeah. That's a great movie.
Yeah, it is.
I totally forgot about that movie.
It's so bad it's great. You know what I mean? It's like,
oh yeah.
Like it all came back. Like it just came back to me when you said, I'm like, oh yeah, I did see that movie once.
I think I own it somewhere, dude.
You probably do.
Yeah.
You collect everything else.
Yeah, you own Garbage Pail Kids, so you probably have that movie.
Did you see, when you walked in here? Did you notice the Garbage Pail Kids frames?
I didn't see that.
He has the first edition of Garbage Pail Kids framed.
Oh wow!
And these giant picture frames. You gotta check it out before you leave.
The whole collection.
And he has a movie.
That movie. And G.I. Joe.
That's Dan Root, the guitar player in the Adolescents. He has a room that's just all like a lot of it's the rock dolls. So he's got like Kiss but he's got like some you're like, I didn't even know they made Keith Morris has a bobblehead.
Really?
And he's got that, but I mean just Alice Cooper, like all these different, dolls, and it's like, like, God, A, where do you find all this stuff? And B, like, I could sit in here for like hours and just trip out on it,
It's like the fucking guy got ABBA action figures. What the fuck is up with that?
He's got the Bee Gees.
Interesting face.
I got more stuff I need to put up. I just
So you want to pause real quick?
Just because you had a big back attack. Just because you danced in Russian hooker biz. Just because America's not great again. Just because cold fat man. Just because fuck you. Just because fuck you. Just because fuck you. Just because it's hard to jerk
So I just wanted to let you know, me personally, every time I've gone to a Manic Hispanic show, or the times that I've seen you fill in with the Tramps, you know, maybe you guys don't remember, you know, you guys got a lot of stuff going on, but just the very simple things, you know, taking a picture with us or saying hello and whatever the case was, you guys always make the environment very homely, very loving, you know,
homely,
very, yeah, you know, very, 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 very loving.
Man, you guys are ugly. We know.
Damn. I was just picturing Joel leaving with a to-go cup of menudo.
Oh, you know what I mean.
And some cold tortillas.
You know, you guys always made, you know, people feel at home. At least my personal experience, you know.
Thanks. Yeah.
So.
It's funny, and I probably got more, like, especially being around the Tramps guys. Like when I was in Joyride and we first met those guys, like they're so, you know, just, and not like my bands were ever uncool to people. You know, we were always like, hey, how you doing? But like I'd see Gabby and Warren out like hugging people and stuff. And when we met them, they were all big huggers. And in Joyride, we were all kind of like, they'd come up and hug us. And, you know, like we'd be like, I don't know, I'm not used to that. You know what I mean? I don't know if it was an AA thing for them or what, you know. But always, you know, when Gabby says, like, you know, shake hands with the guy next to you, or, you know, that's how he is, you know. So I don't know, maybe we picked up more of that from, you know, I mean, over the years. But yeah, I mean, like, to me, like, I'm stoked you guys come to this. I'm stoked people are coming, and like bands that kind of just, you know, straight into a dressing room or whatever, you know, you're kind of like, you're missing out on them, you know. There's a lot of cool people out there that we get to meet doing this, you know. I have friends all over the world that I've made because I didn't go run into a dressing room after the show.
And you know what? I'm a firm believer in, you know, timing is everything. I mean, we followed the Adolescents growing up as kids, you know. And then as we've grown throughout the years as musicians ourselves, you know, we take what we've learned from people like yourself and Gabby and the Tramps and, you know, Agent Orange and everyone and you know, the entire OC punk movement as a whole. It's really, at least for me, has really shaped me as far as what I wanted to be as a musician and a songwriter. You know, I can honestly say that you guys have paved the way for guys like us. And I never thought in a million years we'd be sitting in a room with you talking about, you know, the stories that you've been telling us, and then us being able to tell you things like this firsthand, and how it is that you've affected us throughout, you know, our growing up years and whatnot.
You know, I think one of the great things about punk rock is that kind of, it seemed like before punk rock that wasn't possible in all kind of, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, you know, Elvis got out and got a, you know, and he was different because there was like this hysteria around him, you know, like most of your, you know, punk rock guys like Jack Grisham or whoever can go to the grocery store. It's no big deal, you know. But I mean, it's also like, it's awesome that the walls kind of went away, you know, of that between like performers and people that watched them perform, you know. And you could, because I mean, they're really, you know, I when I was young, I remember just thinking about it and kind of going like, you know, yeah, I can play guitar and that's cool, but I can't fix my own car and I can't build a house. And when my plumbing's fucked up, I can't do anything about it. So those guys are cool to me because that's, you know what I mean? Right. Like everyone's got something that they're good at, or, you know what I mean? And so no one should be, you know, like some bands cop attitudes and it's just kind of weird to me, you know? And when I've had it, you know, sometimes you'll meet guys that's another thing too. See, I don't want to Heisman anybody like Dave Vanian did to me. It hurts, man. Dave, if you're listening somewhere, Dave, you scarred me.
And thank you for listening to our podcast. If you are listening, I appreciate that. But seriously, I mean, just to quarterback off of what he said, and I know Rick's gonna hate this because it's not kissing ass, but I fucking learned to play bass on that Blue album. I fucking learned to play bass. You taught me how to play bass, basically. So it's fucking
and
crazy.
You didn't pay me.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I took bass, no, I'm just kidding.
You owe him.
No, you know what's
you owe
funny
him for all the
is and that's awesome to hear. Like that really is. You know, all kidding and stuff aside, that's awesome to hear. And sometimes, you know, people tell you things like that, you know, like people don't you know, you go, oh, that's cool. But you don't think, but I mean, it really is cool. You know what I mean? Like that's, and it's never lost on me, you know, like things that happen in my life that, and I go like, I'd have never, you know, like when I wrote those songs and played on those songs, I never thought someone was going to tell me 40 years later, hey dude, I started playing music because of that. You know what I mean? And it's like, so you know, when you're in that moment, you're not even thinking much more than we just wanted to be the coolest band in Fullerton. You know what I mean? Like we didn't expect anyone to go out and really listen to it at first. You know, I don't know what we were thinking. We weren't thinking about it. So
you guys definitely impacted our lives. I mean, I remember when this guy said, "Hey, dude, listen to this," and it was a Blue album, and the first song I ever heard was "LA Girl," and I was like, holy shit, dude, this is fucking great, you know. And then after that, that's all she wrote, you know. That's all it was for me after that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's one of those things that got passed down the line. Like, hey, I got it. Here, listen to this one, Joe. Listen to this one, Chris. You know, everybody got down the line. So like, pretty incredible how far stuff goes.
But you know, we did buy our own individual albums.
Eventually.
Oh, you know what? I'm totally like,
Chris.
We didn't download it from Napster at all.
Yeah.
I'm so like, you know, like everyone that cries about Napster and all that stuff, like, whatever. As long as people are listening to it, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like Spotify. Well, I guess you pay for Spotify, but you know what I'm saying? Like now, like when we put out stuff, I don't expect to make money putting out records. It's just so people, I want to write new songs and I want to play them. It's not cool to play them live if people haven't heard them. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, so wherever people find them, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's funny now. Like, I know, you know, a lot of people just get real bent about what happened with the music business, but like, just it is what it is. You know what I mean? If it's like raining, you put on a raincoat and umbrella and deal with it. You don't sit in your room and not go outside because you have stuff to do. You know what I'm saying? So like, the landscape changed. Deal with it. You know what I mean? So you know, like if you can find my music and steal it, go for it. You know what I mean? And you know, it's like we said, you know, like even, you know, like, you know, when we have this label that we're on with the Adolescents in Germany, and every day is a fight for me not to just put this stuff up, this new record up online now and just go like, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Because it, you know, whatever. I just want people to hear the music. I don't, you know, I've done a couple solo records, and a lot of times I just give those CDs to people. I don't need to, you know what I mean? It's like, I want people to hear it. Yeah. You know, I, you know, it's not like, well, you know, this costs a lot of money. You got, yeah. And the fun thing with Manic now is that like when we play or any kind of financial thing we get, we just kind of dump back into making more music now.
Yeah.
Since we don't have to like, you know, like, oh, I need this money to pay my phone bill or anything like that. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it just kind of pays for itself in the sense of like, oh, now, yeah, we can go record 5 more songs. This is
for
cool,
free.
You know,
yeah.
And put them up on YouTube for free. Yeah, you know what I mean? And then people will come and want fun, and it'll, you know, it's just kind of like, it's all just to keep the party going.
Now, not to compare you guys with Weird Al Yankovic, but he used the Fair Use Act for his parody songs. Is that what you guys are using? Or
yeah, there's like the whole thing with that. We know so many of the bands that we do this. So like when we're done, like yesterday, I just said we have you ever heard that song "American" by the Descendants?
Yeah.
So we did Mexican American, and I just sent it to Carl and yesterday because he wrote that song, you know, and it's like we usually, you know, try to get the blessing, you know, so. You know, everyone pretty much so far. We don't know any of the guys in I don't know Cheetah Chrome. I mean, he's my Facebook friend, but I don't really know him, so I didn't ask him. But for Sonic Reducer, but like the Stearns, I sent, you know, Mark and Sean, you know, that song, this thing, you know, Sneak into California, and everyone's usually cool. You know, I've never had anyone go, oh, don't. You know, don't.
I was just gonna ask you that if you did.
No, you know what's funny is we did Fugazi Waiting Room, Holding Cell, which is that's my favorite off that last one. And so, you know, I met Ian like 2 years ago when I was on tour. I did a solo run with Kevin Seconds. All these years we just never crossed. I'd seen him play. We never got to know him, and he is one of the coolest guys, just down to earth, awesome guys that I've ever met in my life. And we sat in a room, me, him, and Kevin, at this club in DC, and talked about like late 70s California punk rock for hours. And you know, he was like wanting to know everything about Eddie and the Subtitles and the song American Society and all these things, you know, all this stuff that he didn't know didn't witness on the West Coast or, you know, East Coast, whatever. So anyway, so I sent him, you know, this email with the song in it, and he'd always said, yeah, if you ever want to get a hold of me, if you're coming to DC, just hit me with an email. I answer my emails every day, blah, blah, blah. So I send it, and I don't hear nothing. It's 3 days, 4 days, and I wonder if they, you know, I'm all like, well, they got Mexicans in D.C. He's got to kind of know, you know. And then, but you're one like, and when I wrote them the email, I go, I don't know if you've ever heard Manic Hispanic, but this is this thing I do with, you know, and kind of explain it to him, and still nothing. And about 10 days in, I was like, I'm gonna send it to Brian Baker and go, hey, hit up Ian, and I know you were in Minor Threat and not Fugazi, but see if he'll give us permission, because I don't want to do it without him saying it's cool, you know. And then that night I got an email from him, and he's all, dude, I drove my family. We went to Chicago on a family trip, and I kind of stayed off the internet, and I've just been, you know, hanging with my wife and kid, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Love the song. It's funny. Go ahead and do it. And when you press it, send it to us. And, you know, super cool and super good with it, you know. So I was like, whew. That was a sigh of relief, because it was like, because we didn't want to put it even on YouTube until, you know,
until he got his blessing.
Yeah. And like the Bouncing Souls guys, we'd done Mas Chingones like a lot live so for years. So they knew about it, and they were already like, yeah, go ahead, you know. So, and Teardrop on My Eye, that, you know, I called Kevin the night we finished that, and I sent it to him. And, you know, he was like, oh, yeah, do whatever you want, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just basically word of mouth, or, you know, word of mouth permission type of thing.
Yeah, at some point, we still filed the stuff, and it has to go through, like, if those guys have a publishing company.
Right.
It has to be, like we just recorded 21st Century Digital Boy. And that's got to be, like, so we'll have to run that through, like, Epitaph publishing, you know, thing. Even though, like, we know the guys in the band, it's still, you know, like, there's certain things you kind of have to just do, you know.
Yeah, let the lawyers.
Politics being everywhere.
Business and politics is still a thing, yeah.
Right. But, I mean, like, with Sneak into California, the Stearns own their publishing and own all this stuff, so it was just, they, you know, they go, yeah, we're not going to go after you, put it out, and, you know. I think when we were on their label and putting out records, I'm sure they were pretty cavalier with their attitude toward publishing for the other bands too. Right, so I don't even know. No, I didn't mean that, Sean. I'm sure you paid everybody. But, you know, in that whole thing with cover songs and all that is, yeah, like there's there's parody. And then you know what I mean? There's certain things that, you know, is it like if your song's like a straight parody, then I don't think you have to pay anyone. But if it's just like you change the words, but it's not a parody of that song, then you do. You know, I mean, it's like Mo, our other guitar player, he handles all. I'm like, I just go like,
hands off.
I'm a better guitar player than him, but he's a better businessman than I am.
And that's why he's in the band.
Exactly. Everyone's got their jobs.
Deals with all the red tape.
Yep.
Yeah. He worked at the label when at Dr. Dream. When that's how I met him, and you know, so he's got a good head for all that stuff. You know. It's nice to be able to just leave it all, that part of it to someone
and just
else.
be the artist.
Yeah. Well, you know, in all my other bands, like a lot of times, you know, I end up running, you know, even, you know, like, I mean, like Tony and I run the Adolescents thing. We don't want a manager. It's like, I don't need some guy that's going to come in and tell me what to do or what not to do. I've done this long enough, But sometimes it's good to have, the more guys that can help out with that. Ephraim's real, on the ball about like merchandise and stuff for Manic, like, so he kind of runs the web page, stuff for that, or you know what I mean? So it's like having other people, so you're not all doing it just one guy, is kind of fun.
Because all I wanted for Christmas for the past 2 years was a Manic Hispanic t-shirt, and you can't find one online. Are you bringing the merchandise back?
Yeah, that's being sorted out right now. We'll have a web page up with all that stuff. Ephraim's in Europe or in London with
Death by Stereo.
Yeah, he gets home. They played their last show today. Tonight for them was like about 5 hours ago, so he'll be probably on a plane in like 3 or 4 hours and on his way out. So yeah, and we're gonna have stuff. There's gonna be Back in Brown shirts, off that new record at the show, and I'm trying to get Louie to do like because we just did it real quick. I don't know if you saw that Lowriders from Mars poster thing, but I want him to do like a way more detailed, like, we make a shirt for that too.
And bring back, if you could just get one suggestion, bring back the Vatos Locos Forever shirt.
Yeah, I think we are. I think all of it's gonna, like the guy that made all our stuff for us has all those screens. So it's just a matter of, and if you order it online, I think that's even easier because then they can go, oh yeah, we just, we need to make one of these, and they do it,
Oh, that's cool.
Where, if we make 50 of them and take them to a show, if you're late, you know what I mean? Someone might get them, or sometimes we get stuck with 50 shirts at a person, right?
You put them in your trunk. No, you put them in your trunk.
That happened at that band. I play in punk rock karaoke, and that was a band that never, no one ever just bought shirts for punk rock karaoke, and we'd make them. We'd do like a little tour. We'd make shirts and come home with almost all of them.
Oh, wow.
And at one point, it became like the hot potato. Like, dude, I got 4 boxes of these shirts in my house, and I was living in a small apartment in Long Beach, so I'm like dumping them off on Hetson, and then Hetson dumped them off on Melvin, and somehow we ended a tour in San Francisco, so they went home with Melvin when he was in the band, and I was out there I was doing a solo run, and I was playing with X, but I had it wasn't just me. I had a band with me, and we had a van and a trailer, and Melvin came by early. And we were just hanging out. We went and got some coffee, and he saw the trailer. So at the end of the night, he pulls up next to the trailer of his car and goes, "Hey, dude, can you take these 4 boxes?" I mean, your trailer's not that full of stuff. I think you have room.
It's been in my house for 4 fucking months.
Yeah. And I finally, when I moved out of that pad in Long Beach, I just took those shirts to Goodwill finally. So they were like, people running around with like punk rock karaoke shirts.
So if you're lucky, you can buy a punk rock karaoke shirt for $1.99.
Yeah. Who designed your album covers, huh?
Well, it depends.
It's a pretty badass album cover.
Which one?
Every single one I've seen, man. It was like, it's like the artwork. I love collecting vinyl, and that's something that draws me to it. So every time I see the album covers, it's like, I look at them and I'm like, wow, this is some amazing stuff.
The Adolescents have used the same guy. He's an artist from Spain, Mario Rivera, and he's done our last 6 or 7 records. The Manic stuff is kind of different guys every time. Mm-hmm. Trying to think. Well, Grupo Sexo was kind of easy. We just took the Circle Jerks cover. And, so those ones were easier. Like the Back and Brown thing, I was with Alex from Alex's Bar when I was thinking about it. I came up with that. And Alex was the one that goes, dude, instead of a lightning bolt.
Use a cord.
Yeah, use a cord. Alex is like the auxiliary member that, he kind of, he comes up with some stuff every once in a while, or ideas, and I'm all like, oh, dude, And that was kind of how, with Louie too, is like I kept going, I know there's somebody that, you know what I mean, that's gonna do this, and I know he's on the tip of my tongue, but I just can't think of it, and we were tossing people back and forth, and then all of a sudden it was just like at the same time we almost went like Louis Perez, and then it was boom, yeah. And as soon as we both said it, we were like, yeah, And he's awesome. Like that, I got that Sneaking to California is him. Chancla Abuser is him. I mean, he stepped in right away and has been like, just knows that brings it definitely. And it's not, that's a tough gig for anyone, I would think. You know what I mean? It's because I don't want people to ever go, oh, he's trying to replace Gabby, because he's not. Mm-hmm. He's just another guy in this, dumb comedy thing we do. But he grew up listening to it. Mm-hmm. So for him, it's just like, he knows the jokes because he grew up listening, like in the car with him. So he's just like, oh yeah, I can do this, so it's awesome. It's really cool.
I think you guys have, always had a perfect formula of the, I guess, I hate to say that word because I'm not Mexican, the Chicano culture and punk rock and how it just infused together. I think it was just like a perfect mashup of it. I mean, it's like your own niche,
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because as soon as it started like coming together like that, like then it was like, oh yeah, this all works and this works. And you know what I mean? It's like, and what's great is like I got a brother-in-law and, he grew up in LA and he never heard punk rock though. Like that wasn't his trip. Mm-hmm. But he's Mexican, and as soon as he heard that stuff, he's all like, dude, this is great. And he thought we wrote all the songs. And I'm like, no, I wish I did.
Just the lyrics.
But every once in a while, he'd go like, why does Gabby say manos instead of manos? And I'm all, you got to ask him,
He just had to be there.
But, and he... he got to know Gabby a little bit and stuff, and just like, like I'm saying, like, so here's this guy that wasn't punk rock or wasn't, you know what I mean?
He got turned on. It was
totally got totally into it.
The fucking gateway drug, Manic Hispanic.
Exactly.
So if you're a cholo listen to Manic Hispanic, you'll get into punk rock.
Well, one of the singer on one of the early records, and we called him Mad Ralphie. He's a friend of ours, Ace, and his brother was went to Cal State Fullerton, and he wasn't having any of us like, you guys making Mexicans look dumb.
He's one of those proud Chicanos.
Yeah, and Ace would go like, no, dude, you got, get it. It's funny. It's like fun. Like we're embracing the culture, and like he wasn't, but he wasn't having it. But so I mean, it kind of works both ways. Mostly, that's the only one I really ever remember like of not, not getting it.
You have set back the Chicano culture 6 minutes. Only 6 minutes.
6 minutes.
Well, like at least in my family, we always poke fun at each other like that. So that's why Manic's perfect for that. We're always making fun of each other and just like, oh, you want to be successful? Get out of here. So it's in line with the Manic Hispanic culture.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah. When we were doing the vocals for all this, and who was new, and Gilbert, who was new, and then Ephraim. And they never really, like, Ephraim and Gilbert knew each other really well, but I wasn't really the only one that really knew Louie. Mm-hmm. And so, when you bring people in like that, when we first started doing it, I'm like, I kind of stepped back and just watched them. And by the end, it was like 3 brothers. You know what I mean? Just, if you heard the song Teardrop on My Eye, mm-hmm. like all that ad-lib stuff beforehand, that was just them in a room with the mic, and just playing with each other. And by the end of it, like I remember I called Warren and I go, oh, dude, this is going to work. These guys, they click together really well, And yeah, it's just, and now at practice and stuff, they're just kind of, smacking each other around. And,
I told you in the text, I don't know if you read it, but the Clika Podcast name is inspired by Mijo Goes to Junior College because we needed a name for this. And I was in the shower. I was listening to Mijo Goes to Junior College, and I was like Clika. So I jumped out of the shower butt ass naked, and I called him. I'm like, dude, this is what we're gonna name it. We're gonna name it like Clika. And he's like, that's perfect. And then it's been this name ever since.
Remember, I stopped every time. I go, hey, are you naked, dude?
Well, it's important if you jump out of the shower, you straight before putting on your pants.
He didn't tell me that. I just heard the dripping water. Like that sounds like water dripping from your ball sack.
You hear the echo and everything.
Well, because it makes a different bounce once the water hits your balls. It makes a different bounce off the hardwood floor.
Why not just have it the reverb?
Yeah, and the reverb.
Thanks for not FaceTiming me.
So can you see me?
It's like, I know I'm naked, dude, but I got an idea.
This is important.
Like, listen, dude.
My eyes are up here.
I just can't get that visual out of my head now.
You ruined it. It was like so
Hey,
well,
you did
Chris.
it yourself.
We're changing the name now, dude.
And
Joe
please-
calls me naked. That's a different story.
Yeah. It's more of a more polished, more chiseled physique.
It's Evian water.
I'm pretty
dripping from his
sure-
balls.
I'm pretty sure I look like Grover naked.
You look like a dripping wet snuffleupagus.
There you go.
Man, now I can't watch Sesame Street no more.
Sesame Street is sponsored by the number 4 and the sound of Chris's water dripping off his balls.
A dripping wet snuffleupagus, but no trunk.
Oh, okay.
Where the hell did this go?
This went south really fast.
Visuals are.
It went from a compliment to straight trash.
Okay, I'm so sorry about this. This is what we do.
That's okay. I feel right at home.
Okay, on that note,
Who designed the cover for the? God, was it the crop dusting? The new album.
That was at
Adolescents?
Mario Rivera. That was Tony's idea.
Oh,
like
man.
a lot of times, that's Tony will come up with the idea and then he just kind of fleshes it out for him. And
I
yeah.
love that cover. The minute I saw, that's awesome. I need to get that.
Yeah. We're gonna make shirts of that.
Oh yeah.
And on the back they say "Free Melania."
nice.
Yeah.
I guess when people hate a president, it makes for good punk rock albums, doesn't it?
Well, it's funny when we first started making the record. The first couple songs weren't very political, and I kind of was surprised because Tony's usually, like on point with all that, or and I go, these are cool. They're, and he goes, yeah, these were the lighthearted ones. He goes, I'm sure no one wants to hear me scream about Trump for the whole 45 minutes or whatever. But then he came in and started, like, the first song on the record is about Sarah Huckabee, and it's called Queen of Denial. And it's so good. And then there's a song that we do called Just Because, and it's like just all the Trumpisms make it into the lyrics, Covfefe and all these different things, And the chorus basically just goes, just because, fuck you. It's like,
That's nice.
and, so yeah, it's funny. My parents are conservative, and so even most conservative people I know are uncomfortable with that guy and all of his actions and stuff too, But my mom saw that cover and she was like, kind of, oh, Steven. Come on, it's funny. Dad'll think it's funny because all men laugh at fart jokes. But it's like, for Manic, I mean, having this guy that doesn't like Mexicans as our president, it's like, it's just like handing us the fucking basketball and a ladder and standing us next to the hoop. Like, all right, I can do this all day long,
He just gave you the keys to the city, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've heard all the songs that we put out so far, but like,
Naranjo?
yeah. That was just like, there you go. I mean,
I love that song.
And yeah, I'm sure he's gonna pop up all over the place. That's it. We're gonna take the 2 EPs and then record like 3 or 4 more songs and then put it all out on a vinyl. And so the vinyl will be called, are you familiar with Wasted Youth, Reagan's In?
Yeah.
So ours is going to be Trump S.I.N. And same kind of drawing as, like the same, instead of the W-Y, on the forehead, it's going to be the United Farm Workers eagle spray painted on his forehead.
Nice.
And, I mean.
It's going to be on Caca Brown vinyl.
That's really badass.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a gimme for the next, at least the next 3 more years or 2.5 years.
You will not run out of material.
No, I'm sure we'll find a way to milk him after he's gone too.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they did that for George Bush. I mean, I wouldn't see why not.
Oh god.
Someone put up? Oh god, when we put up Naranjo too, someone goes, Ephraim, or on the Manic page, it said it's about the worst presidente, whatever. And some guy goes, "Oh, you wrote a song about Obama?" And I was like, first of all, you can't even joke about that one.
Yeah, really.
But, it's like I trip out. I trip out on guys that come out of like the punk rock scene stuff that back him.
Really?
Trump, yeah, because you know what I mean. It's like. Oil,
water. It's,
yeah.
There's no common ground there.
Yeah, I mean, I know my mom all the time kind of freaks out like, how did I become this lefty communist that and one time she actually told me too. She goes like, she was pissed we were arguing about politics. Why don't you just move to a communist country? I'm like, really? There's not. Well, really now there's like Vietnam and Cuba, I guess I could go to, and that's about it. But that's gotta mean.
Go
Mom.
to Cuba for the food, though. I mean, if you're gonna go communist.
I went there and I played there with CJ, which was amazing, and I think we're gonna go again in November, and it was awesome. It was beautiful. I mean, it was weird. We had handlers with us like the whole time everywhere we went, so we probably didn't get to see, stuff that they didn't want us to see, but it was still, unreal, and I hope that opens up and people can, that was the sad thing is we went at the tail end, of the Obama administration, and I called the Adolescents booking agent and I said, we got to get down here. How is this? And she goes, it's going to open up in like 3 or 4 years. Like everyone will be, it's going to take a little while. But now that it's gone away again, that window. We're only going because we're going to be part of a film festival. And it's a documentary about when we were there.
Okay.
So we can kind of squeak back in.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I saw that. I saw a documentary on Netflix about Cuba and the cameraman. That's what it was called. And this guy just followed, just been going to Cuba for about 30 years, and he follows Fidel Castro around. Fidel Castro just picked him up and just made him his little buddy. I mean, it gave Fidel Castro a very human side. It was crazy. And the little history. Now I want to go to Cuba because based on that documentary, I'm like, wow, this looks like a fantastic country.
Yeah. Well, it was. I mean, the parts we saw were just like super awesome and beautiful, and then we were like walking around in downtown, and it's funny as people are coming up, going like. Americano. And the guy, someone goes, just tell them you're Canadian. Or they'll, there's like, Canadians been going there forever. So they're like, oh, whatever. You say Canadian, they leave you alone. But
you cheap just get a Canucks jersey or something, Well,
what, I mean, it's the same thing with any, like when you're in a city, in your, foreign city, and there's the scam guys that see the tourists coming, and like, the guy comes up and he puts a book in CJ's hand, and CJ's kind of looking at it, and then the guy's just like, he goes to hand it back, and the guy goes, no, $20 or whatever. No, I don't want that. I want to give you your book back, and it's just stuff like that. So they go, if you tell them you're Canadian, they just kind of go like, oh, we can't scam you or whatever.
But we don't want your loonies.
Yeah. The thing that I remember that was trippy was Wi-Fi over there is only in like certain areas, and there's this one street, like a main street that it's on. So all these people are like they're just like trying to do whatever they do on the like you had to go like if you worked at a place that it was in the office, then you could get it. Like we met some people that their jobs they were able to hop on the internet where they worked, but a lot of people it was just like on the street or by the big hotels.
So there was like no internet allowed in the country except for designated areas?
Yeah.
Or?
So, I mean, at least that's the way it was then. Like things kind of keep opening up, I think.
So you see like a big old human cell phone tower. People are just standing on each other.
Like everyone's standing
just on their Instagramming.
Well, the Dickies just went to China, and Stan was saying, Stan Lee sends me a text going, I can only text. There's no Facebook here and no Pokemon Go. I go, dude, you are in China. Go walk around and check stuff out, Don't go sit on Facebook. You know?
Yeah, stop looking for that Pikachu on the suicide net. You know.
Oh, that's his. He's so into all that. Stan has lost his mind with the Pokemon Go. It's so great watching this guy. You know, just it's like a little child. You know, and we've been on tour, and he'll go, pull over for just 1 second. Oh, God. Just let me jump out if I get this thing, and I've been, you know, and we're like, oh.
Damn. That's still going on.
I didn't know that
only for him. I think he's the only one still playing.
I remember seeing in the news, you know, it was like a frenzy and shit, you know, but it kind of like, died out eventually.
There's still people doing it.
Crazy.
There was like fucking cholos hiding by the fucking different Pokemons, and when kids would come and fucking go try to find that Pokemon, they'd fucking rob their ass. Dude. I bullshit you not. That's what was going on.
Yeah.
Have you guys played in Korea?
No.
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 Would you like to play there?
I love to play there. I'd like anywhere that I haven't been. I would like, you know. I saw, who was it? Sick of It All played there last year. Yeah, I saw that, and or this year, or was it like
last year?
Last year, yeah.
I wanted to go to that so bad.
Yeah. We did Warped Tour with them last year, so it was after that, and I was like, oh man, I was totally jealous. Oh man, when I saw that.
I actually met Lou at Music a few years ago.
Okay,
great guy, man. Awesome guy.
Those guys are all super awesome.
Down to earth.
We had a really good summer. It was like them and Valiant Thor. Those guys are all just awesome dudes. Bad Cop. You know, we were all on the same stage. It was pretty cool. It was a good summer. Good dudes, but yeah, the Sick of It All guys are great. And you know, all these years, like, you know, we'd kind of maybe play like a festival here or there. We never really, you know, got to know them that much. And like Kevin Seconds, other friends of ours were like, "Oh, dude, you're gonna love those guys," and they were. It was great. Yeah. You know.
He's always the last question. That's why.
Yeah, he's been the last question.
Like, all right, let's go. And then, hey, wait a minute, I got one last question.
Monique, do you have a question? Okay.
I got one little small one, maybe.
See?
No, this is one question in 85 parts.
You guys were big. You guys influenced a lot of skateboarders, man. Were you guys ever into all that?
Well, when I was in Agent Orange, Mike was the skateboard guy, like at our junior high. So I mean, I never was like. I never skated, but I would watch him, you know, just do tricks in front of my house or his house or whatever, you know. And but we played like a lot of even in the Adolescents and stuff, like skateboard events and stuff, you know. It was always like that early skateboard in punk rock culture. Just kind of that was another thing that just meshed so well, you know. And so watching all those guys and. Dan Colburn, who played in the Adolescents, like during the Brats and Battalion era, like he's a skater and he still skates, I think, you know. And so yeah, you know, and you know, it's funny. I don't know. Last time I remember knowing where this picture was, I had it up on MySpace. That's how old it was. But we were taking band photos at the Henry Fonda Theater, and Tony Hawk was at our show. Oh, nice. And he photobombed us in this picture. So it's totally rad. We're like all trying to look like, oh, we're a band, because we were horrible at band photos. Like Adolescents, we're like getting all five of us to try to, like, you know, that's the one thing I've always, like, some bands just look cool. Social Distortion always just looks cool whenever picture they're taking. We never look. We're not cool. We're not going to look cool. You know what I mean? And it's just like, so it's kind of like we almost go into it going like, look, we know we're not cool. So just take like 4 pictures of us standing here with our hands in our pockets, and then we'll split, because we don't have time for any of this. But anyway, we're all lined up trying to look cool, and then there's Tony Hawk popping his head.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because every time I see a skateboard, any kind of video, I always see punk music in the background, so I know that's a big influence.
Yeah, yeah. Well, all the guys that like all the guys coming to the shows back then, I think they all. Were skaters and stuff too. So there was a lot of that surfing, skating thing,
I trip out. These guys got like 18 years on me, and I look at a skateboard and I already broke my hip. I can't believe these guys are still doing it,
Well, and as a musician, I mean, it's like, you always hear the horror stories. And there was a guy that when Mike Ness first did his first solo tour, he took this guy out, and like the third day, the guy broke his arm skateboarding. But at the same time, the guy that was playing bass in the opening band goes, well, I can step in and fill in, and he did, and that was Mike's solo thing, and now that guy is the bass player in Social Distortion. So the other dude breaking his arm skateboarding gave this other dude a job. You know what I mean?
There it is.
Thanks, buddy.
But then, you know, at some point, Mike was skateboarding with his son, I heard, and broke his wrist.
Oh,
and I know Ron Emery played guitar for them for like a couple of weeks, you know,
but
while Mike was healing. Yeah,
Mike's not going to replace himself.
Yeah.
So he has
At
a
least
little
he's
leeway.
got job security. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, whenever we got, you know, like whenever I'm playing in a band with someone and that skates, as soon as I see him like, you know, dicking around on the board, I'm just like, dude, like,
Don't break your hand.
you screw this tour up.
Like, wait till
I'll
after.
beat you to death with that skateboard.
just bubble wrap him.
Yeah.
On the skateboard, just bubble wrap him.
Yeah, 'cause I used to be in skateboarding.
What band was it? 22 Jackson I was in. That one of our guitar players, when he was drunk, he banged on something. Anyway, he broke something in his hand. But he knew that me and Joe, the singer, would just flip out on him if he canceled or, you know. And it was like an important tour. We were out with someone fairly big or whatever. So he didn't say anything. And he just sucked it up. And he played. When he got home, or no, he finally went to the doctor, and the doctors told him, oh, yeah, we need to put you in a cast right now. And he goes, no. Just, I'm going to wrap it for 3 more weeks, and then I'll do, you know what I mean? And so, like, and I hear that back, and I go, God, I wonder if I'm that big of a dick that he was afraid to go get
When I saw him crying on stage, I thought he was just into it. I didn't know he was in pain.
I thought that was his rock face, you know what I mean? Just dig it in.
Nice.
But, you know, you like, we always joke around now with the Adolescents, is like we set certain standards or whatever. Like I don't know if you can't really tell anymore, but I lopped off the tip of my thumb in Brazil, and about 6 hours before we were supposed to play, and we were like day drinking in the city called Santos, and I got back to my room and I wanted to put the AC on, and I was trying to figure out how to close the window, and I figured it out, and it dropped on my hand and lopped off like tip of my thumb. So, but I played the show that night. Like the whole time the guy was stitching me up, I was like, I have to play. I can't not play this show because they'd already paid us. So like that's South America. They wire you the money before you even go down there. So I'm like, I can't give it back. I already spent it. So there's pictures of me playing, and then there's pictures I've seen after the show, and like, you know, we're hanging out with these kids, and like in every picture, like I got my arm around him, but this hand's like way over here, like don't touch this hand. You know?
And they're all covered in blood.
Yeah. So
You're just dripping blood on these kids.
So like a few months later, we did this tour, and Tony had hernia surgery, and it hadn't healed, but he was like, well, I can't not go. You can't bone out because Steve played with his thumb like that. So then that became the thing, and you know what I mean?
It up.
So like we're in the middle of the second show, and I look, Tony's wearing a white T-shirt, and there's just blood everywhere.
Oh, fuck.
And I'm all, dude, we gotta go home. And he's all, we can't go home. You didn't go home. I can't go home. And then it's just been constantly that thing, you know, like one of our guitar players' knee, he did like 3 weeks on a bad knee that he should have had surgery on, but like I can't because, you know.
Because
See, the thing
his
is,
guts were hanging out in your thumbs.
and see, you should have said we're not adolescents anymore.
I know. That's the sad thing is one day it's going to happen. Like one of us is going to lose a limb. If you would have just gotten this taken care of, the gangrene wouldn't have set in.
It all started with that fucking thumb. I'm just telling you now.
It did. The thumb was the...
Can't change the name now. There's already gangrene.
Yeah.
The AARPs.
Like the adults.
Well, if you spend enough time with us in a van, you know that wasn't true either.
Well, what's that old saying with that philosopher? You could be you're only young once, but you could be immature forever.
Nice.
I'll back that.
Nice.
I always say, like, sometimes CJ will, you know, especially like Dan Root and I, because we play in the Adolescents and with CJ, and he's in the Flock. We've been friends for 30 years, and it's like kind of like almost two brothers sometimes, the way we'll go at each other. And, but most of it, it's very juvenile. And CJ will go like, you guys are like two little kids. And I'm like, dude, I've been in like a van or something like that since I was 15 years old. Like I never like it's too late for me to try to enter the adult world at this point.
It's too late for the adult.
Yeah, I'm screwed.
I want to stop having fun.
Yeah, of course I'm going to act like a child sometimes. I didn't, it's just, the way it is. But yeah, Dan and I, when we went at it one time, and Pete Sosa from the Street Dogs was playing drums for CJ, and you know how like you have those friends you can fight with, and 30 seconds later it's over, it's done. You're not thinking about it. So we had one of those moments in a taxi cab in Australia, and we go back and we're rooming together, and Pete comes to the door and he goes like, I'm just going to make sure you guys are okay, right? And we're like, dude, like, shut the fuck up. Of course we're okay. I mean, Pete's awesome. He just wanted to make sure we were cool, but it was just like Dan's like, what are you, a little girl? We're fine. Like, get out of here.
So you both turn on him.
Yeah, exactly.
Get the fuck out of here.
Like, they're mad at me.
I just want to see if they're okay.
Yeah.
That's how kind of me and Chris are too. Like everybody thinks we're really mad at each other, and we're like, nah.
And then we're fine. We're arguing this afternoon.
Yeah, we're not arguing. We're not getting along.
Yeah,
exactly.
When we're quiet and being nice to each other,
yeah, something's wrong.
Yeah,
somebody fucked up.
Yeah, that's fighting kindness.
So, Steve, we want to thank you for coming on. This has been a real treat for all of us. We've looked up to you and to many of the others, from the OC Punk movement from back in the day. Never thought we'd ever meet you. A treat for all of us. So, for all of you guys listening out there, Manic Hispanic, they got their EP out on YouTube, Back and Brown. Listen to it. And look out for the Adolescents' new album, Crop Duster, in July.
I'm waiting for that T-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonder how I go over if I gave one to my mom for Christmas, man.
Make it into an apron.
Mom, it's cool. You can spill all over him. His whole life's covered in shit anyway. It don't matter.
Nice.
So I am Chris, sitting next to
Boggle.
Sitting next to
Rick.
Sitting next to Joel. And joining us,
Steve Soto, sitting next to all of them.
And last but certainly not least, we got Monique over there in the corner, tucked in.
she didn't want to be on say hi, but she's our newest Clika member, and everybody just give her a round of applause real quick.
All right.
Welcome.
And who's that again? Monique? She doesn't want to hear her name on.
Yeah, Monique.
So Monique, all right.
Monique. Make sure you edit that in a bunch of times before it starts. Monique. Who? Monique.
Boggle, sample it.
Monique.
Okay, we're the Clika Podcast signing off.
Cool, thanks.
All right.
Yeah.